Oh man. Hey everybody, Charles Calhoun, aka the Shade Tree Pro, here on this beautiful Saturday. Hey, first thing I want to say that I hope some nice energy went out to some of the brothers that's out there. I'm watching a little bit of the Puerto Rican Open there, and I see Joseph Brandlett. He's doing quite well as I saw the young brother that won the APGA event. I think he goes to Charleston, something like that. But he's an amateur from South Africa, and bro got some serious game because he beat all the pros out there. So and he held his ground real well, and I definitely like that. One of the things I'm here today, I don't have my notes. I don't have no super quotes. This is just a little free-flowing day, for my podcast number 5 here. Just a little bit of free-flowing, to talk about some things that, so people get a better understanding of who I am and what I do. And as I said, if you don't take me serious, you better take me serious because, I'm not, I'm just not playing around. I've been doing this golf thing for a minute. As I said before, I didn't like, or what's the way the golf swing was taught. I didn't think there was a real true formula of teaching a golf swing based on, certain types of sequences. And like I said, if you don't agree with something, then in a sense, don't sit back and just complain about it, do something about it. Well, I went out and did something about it. I wrote a book on the grip. I wrote a book on my sequence of top down. I built a business under the shade tree. Now it's just a matter of getting people to understand, what it is that I'm doing. I've been quite successful at it for a minute here. Now, I'm in the process of definitely looking for an agent. I want to have a sports agent. And let me tell you why I need an agent and why I want an agent. Because first and foremost is that what's the use of doing anything good, in a sense, if nobody gets a chance to really understand it and see it and what it really is. Now, I know because of cognitive dissonance, we've got this mindset that everything about golf is already there simply because we look at the pros and we say, hey, if you're not making somebody get to the pros or something of that nature, then the value of what you're talking about is not there. Well, I disagree with that. And I'm going to give you an example of something why I totally disagree with that. And, most of the teaching out there is, and you always hear, well, this is what the pros do. This is what the pros do. Well, that goes back to this thing a long time ago. They used to call it stranger danger. And I know many of y'all might be familiar with that. When it came to certain types of criminals, they said, beware of the strange guy in the trench coat and all these guys, and then when they did the studies to learn that you're looking for the guy in the trench coat, that 1%, which you opened up people to that 99% of the people that was doing wrong. Well, my thing is that I always want to look at things in a positive light. Is that if we're all catering our mindsets to teaching about what the 1% does, then we're not paying attention in itself of that other 99%. Now, I've got many people on my post, as I said before, that I've never even met before, that were shooting in the hundreds. And then all of a sudden they start doing top down. They were doing everything you're saying. Then they start understanding my top down. I start sharing videos, over 900 some videos on my youtube.com/Curly Calhoun, or you can go to shadetreepro.com and you can see that. And I mean, without me doing anything other than they asked me a couple questions, and next thing you know, it's like, Charles, I shot 85. I could not believe it. It was the greatest day I had. It's just like these simple things, because what top down does, it gives you actually an understanding. As I said, even when people say, the golf swing is from the ground up, then they also start saying turn the hips. Well, that doesn't even work in itself, because when you say from the ground up, that means actually from the ground up, from the feet to whatever, to the hips there. But yet it's still the turning of the hips in a sense, which is above the ground, still has to go down to the feet. So it's so many things that, that contradict themselves, and which was that happened to me during the process of this. So one of the biggest reasons that I wrote the top down, in a sense, because I wanted the words to match what we're actually trying to do. And a lot of people don't understand, because the swinging of the golf club, or our hands connected to the golf club with a great dead fingers grip. And don't forget, I'm trying to sell 100,000 copies of that in 20 days. If I don't get there, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to keep telling you, and I'm going to keep asking you to go out and get that book, because I know what it can do for you. And I know sometimes cognitive dissonance will hold you back when something new comes along, and it's hard to break away from what you think you do. But in a sense, results matter. But like I was saying, people just got better faster, and they responded to me and told me these things. And, and y'all can go read some of the comments and listen to what the comments from these people talk about, how much top down has improved it. And, yes, I call it top down because, like I said, I started at the top and I worked the swing down, because that's our hands are only connection. And, nobody really talked about what the shoulder girdle does and how valuable it is. And it's the thing that creates the movement. And, and the shoulder girdle is conducive to the arms as the pelvis is conducive to the legs. And no matter what you do and how much you turn your hips, you can never lower your arms. So that's kind of was the foundation of my understanding of when I started building, my top down. Yeah, I got my Titleist driver TSR2. I finally got this thing set up on C1. I just learned about how Titleist do there. I got this thing set up on C1. It's got the Tour AD graphite design, XC-6 stiff flex, and I absolutely can piss pound this thing, especially on that C1. Lord have mercy. I was hitting that thing yesterday. It was like the ground was shaking. I was hitting that ball so far. But going back to what I was talking about here is that the purpose of that top down is to give that option for them. It's definitely an option. I think it's the best option. I feel still yet to this day, and I'm not trying to be, whatever you believe, the smartest in the room or whatever. But then again, if a whole bunch of people's in the room, somebody's got to be the smartest. And I'm actually, I have no problem saying I am the smartest person and the best teacher of teaching this top-down swing system and philosophy, because I wrote it. I mean, nothing wrong with that. Now, if you write something that nobody else knows, you got to be the smartest at talking about it or executing it. I mean, that's just how it goes. But there are a few comments that I've heard from people, and I think it's the old way of doing it, which is nothing wrong. Once again, I got to have my Miller High Life champagne to beer. It's a Saturday. But people are, have sent me comments and saying, about my top down and why this or that about the top down, and, why people may not be catching on. I don't agree with people are not catching on. You look at my thing and, I only got 2,700 subscribers on my YouTube or whatever. But, then when sometimes you look at some of my other social media I put up, I mean, you might not be a lot of people to put a like, but it's a whole bunch of people that's looking at it, and it because it works. But I got people who's saying things such as, it's like, well, the way it's going to be successful is that you got to get somebody out, young people, and, get them, start teaching it to them. And then maybe if you get them up there, then people start catching on to it. Well, that's not what I'm trying to do. Although there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. I don't mind if somebody take top down and do that. That'd be even better. But that's not what That's not what I'm doing. What I am doing is I am creating a formula. And this is why I want a sports agent. Is that I'm not creating just something, some hits and pieces to put something together in a golf swing. No, what I have developed with top down is going to be conducive to sports in general. movements in sports in general. Now, like I said, I was a very good athlete, and but my biggest thing is that I had this desire to learn, and I always was putting pieces together, even ripping my sister's dolls and stuff apart and taking the little engines out and put it. Even when I was in the military, I was a 63 Bravo, which was a light vehicle mechanic, on my granddaddy's farm, taking pieces to engines together, and and doing all these different things. I do have a mechanical mind of seeing things. I know people told me all the time about growing up, said, Charles, you should have either been a politician, a preacher, or a lawyer. Well, I think I should have been an engineer, the way my mind works. And it says, but, I like where my life has turned out, done pretty well or whatever for a guy who hated the game of golf because it always messed up a good day of usually baseball or something in the summertime on TV. So, but I wrote that this top down in a sense to be like, if you're going to bake a pound cake, anybody in the world can go get the recipe for a pound cake and sit there and follow that recipe, put it in the oven, and it's going to come. 100 years from now, people can follow that recipe if the ingredients are there, and that's still going to make that pound cake. Now, people can add a little bit here and there or whatever to make it a little bit better. Maybe put some pineapples on it, put some cherries on it, cream, whatever. But at the end of the day, the essence or the ingredients to create that pound cake is pretty straightforward and basic. So the whole process of what I've done with the golf swing is by creating my top down is that I've actually created an entire philosophy. Now, I didn't hear no one telling people when Stack and Tilt came out to say, hey, it should start here, it should start there. I mean, it was the guys presented some good information, and they happened to be, with the connection to a pros that were able to use it, like it, and some had success with it, some didn't. There was big debates on it. But see, here's the difference with top down. See, top down is not predicated on what the basics of what they thought the golf swing was. Even with Stack and Tilt, it was still focused on what the lower body was doing, how it was doing the shifting. Top down has absolutely nothing to do with that. Top down is about a triggering. Something Mo Norman said, action, reaction. That's why I said the upper body triggers the middle body, which triggers the lower body. Now, one of the biggest problems that I always talk about, where top down is different, and that's with the framework in itself. If you look at a lot of the things that, when you talk about the golf swing, when you look at the framework, the basic framework of the golf swing, and even with the modern movements and everything that they're doing today, the framework in itself is still the same. In other words, it's the same framework that was from, 100 years ago or 400 years ago when they created, developed it or talked about what a golf swing was. It was just upper body and lower body, which that basically came from the medical field. But I start thinking more in a sports mind, and I know people laugh and joke about it, but they can laugh and they can joke. But the thing is, it doesn't change the factual information of what you can do, because as with a mechanical mind, you can change the body and make the body fit a better pattern in a sense. And I personally believe that upper body, middle body, and lower body is more conducive to an athletic motion, as well as more conducive to more of the firing and an explosion that you're seeing with the younger people, with all the different, working out and technology that they're using to make their body stronger and all that. But also you're watching a lot of the body break down, from serious knee injuries to back injuries to shoulder injuries and all these different things. And I think that's because you're putting new information and new product on an old frame. And that's the reason why, we don't have Ford trucks on the body of the old Model T. If you're going to change the body in that sense, then you got to come up with a better framework. And I think upper body, middle body, and lower body is a better framework. And that is simply because in the understanding of building the golf swing, they did not take into consideration that the shoulder girdle is a separate entity from the body cavity, only connected to the body cavity at the SC joints, sternoclavicular joints, by here at your sternum. And it's independent. I mean, each one moves independent. We focus more of getting on the shoulder socket or the internal rotation, external rotations, and all that of the shoulder socket, but they're not paying attention to the shoulder girdle is what houses them, and it is the boss, and it moves independent. It protracts, it retracts, it goes up, it goes down, it comes around. I mean, it's just so many variables that's so left out. And, I think, anytime you're doing something, you always got to account for variable changes. So if the variables changes, then you got to look at the entire process of how to put together. My very first book, Golf Setup for Success, is that I created that setup based on the three body system in essence. And then from there, it would help me to create and build and do all these different things. So that continues to lead me down the road of why I continue to say that, I'm definitely looking for an agent, because I know what it is that I've created, and it's much bigger than me, and I'm not greedy. I'm not trying to make it all for myself, but, I definitely want to get compensated for the things that I've done. But I think, where my focus is to get those 99%. That's where the real money is spent in golf. That's where the real focus is. Because personally, as I said before, my focus is not on that 1%. And the reason that my focus is not on that 1%, because the dead finger grip in itself is conducive to all 100%. The shoulder girdle being connected to the body cavity, as I just described, is for the 100%. The head, the hands, the feet, which I call the anatomical ends, is conducive to the 100%. The unit turn that I talk about in my channel, if you haven't joined it, join it. Just go to YouTube, look at some of my videos in the description and join that channel. The unit turn I speak of is conducive to 100%. Now, some people may have more athletic ability to do certain things, in essence, to make things flow. That's fine and dandy. But at the end of the day, if you can roll a ball faster, that's fine. But if I roll it slower, in a sense, I'm still getting that roll. I'm still making it roll. Yours may produce more. It may be do that. That's called talent. That's called individual differences. That's called rhythm. That's called work ethic. What do you put it into it? But I don't care. I could take the laziest person in the world and still, he still holds the golf club in his hand. His eyes and head still looks down to see the golf ball. His feet still touch the ground. His dead finger is still the weakest finger on the hand, and it's got to give that strength to the golf club, which gets it throughout the body. And still, you got to get the club up to strike. You got to get the club up in the backswing to bring it back down to strike and back up the finish. What I've done is just added little pieces like the pound cake. I've just added some strawberries. I've added some, pineapple slices and many different things. Oh, and definitely a little bit of rum. Speaking of rum, let me run this down my throat here for a second. Oh, that's so good. But the only way that this message is going to get out, and I'm sorry, people, and I don't want to be disrespectful in any way, shape, or form, because this is just like my call to action. But just sitting here talking to one golfer after another golfer, and a lesson this, and I love doing my lessons, but that's not getting me what it is that I know that the people are looking for. And I hate to watch and listen to people just over and over complaining about, just not getting what they're paying for. That's why I said, in my thing, if I don't give you what you pay for, then, hey, I got a policy that, hey, give the money back. You know what I mean? Because I don't want someone to take a lesson from me and they don't get something out of it to where they wake up the next day and they go, wow, you know what I mean? If I just do this, it works. No matter how much money, or how much information I may give somebody. At the end of the day, the club is still held in the hands. The feet still touch the ground. You still got to look at it with your eyes, and you still got to get it up, and you still got to bring it down to strike. Now, you got my good unit turn, then all of that starts going into play because still, again, scap up, scap down, make that thing move, and then the body just starts responding to it. And, and I figured it out, people. I'm not sitting here to sugarcoat it and say it. For far as the top-down swing system and philosophy, I know they say you can't teach everybody the same. Well, I disagree with that because everybody got a grip with the dead finger. And in my top-down swing system of philosophy, using, like I said, my anatomical ends with the nice three-body setup, as well as the ability to get the club up, bring it back down to strike and back up to finish. I'm telling you right now, the movements are the same because the nature of the human body is the same. I don't think anybody really has went into it as deep as I have of just absolutely is something in psychology I think it's called tasse rase. That means blank slate. So I definitely went into everything with a complete blank slate. I can remember from the beginning when I was doing this, I did something that's just so dumb as I even said, I actually looked up the word, what does up mean? And everybody knows what up means. What does grip mean? And I sat there and I used that as from when I was watching the movie Malcolm X, when he copied the whole dictionary. And, and when they ask him, where do you start? He says, start at the first letter, aardvark. And, and he wrote it out. He did, I guess when in prison, you got plenty of time. But he wrote the first word and and Malcolm X in himself was as articulate as it gets. Everybody know the history and the story of that. But that's kind of what I did with golf. When I built top down, when I developed this system, I did that. I took absolutely nothing for granted. And it took me a while, just more in anything. It's just preparing and the trials and errors and the testing and building, because I knew that I wasn't looking for a golf swing. I was looking for a sequence. And I did everything I possibly could. When I felt something that was one way, I'd turn around left-handed and try it. I tried cross-handed. I would just see exactly how the pieces would come together. And then finally, when I start looking at not everything that was different, like we try to look at in life, see things as different, I started looking at the things that were alike. What do we do alike? We all hold the club in our hand. Our feet touch the ground. We see with our eyes. All these things that we do alike. And I start doing, the old pro and con list. And I start looking at all the things we did alike in every single golfer. And I come to realize that, 99%, I almost say 100%, depending on, if you lost a limb or something that, we pretty much do the same things in a golf swing that's alike. The only thing that we absolutely own and everybody owns is your rhythm. I can't teach you my rhythm. I can teach you the variables that I use to create my rhythm, but your rhythm is individual to you. And that's what makes the difference in a golf swing is a rhythm, because the rest of it is pretty much laid out for you. Because I've yet to see anybody, and please tell me, that's sound mind, good health, body, all that stuff. When they're first introduced to the golf club, that they don't go and try to pick the golf club up with their feet. They actually go grab the golf club with their hands. And from there, everything starts. So, yeah, I need an agent. I don't care if I have to pay for it. It doesn't matter. That's business. I mean, everybody should get paid for their work. And if they do a good job, they should get paid excellent. And if you got something of value that's going to help 28 million golfers here in America, and God knows the rest of them throughout the world, then, hey, why not compensate somebody for doing a good job for you? So, hey, look, I'm all putting everything about on business. Yes, I am looking for an agent, and I'm looking for a good one. I am looking for one with the mind like we were doing that got that mindset to understand that, a closed mouth don't get fed, and if you're closing your eyes, you can't see what's around you. And I'm a firm believer in that. So I'm looking for the like-minded people that I would like to work with. In essence, to see if we can come to something, because, like my granddaddy said, ain't nothing wrong with at least having a conversation, because you ain't going to find out what's going on until you have a conversation. And one of the biggest problems, with the day, people talk about a lot of things, what they don't happen or they don't do, or they ain't nobody doing this and nobody's doing that. But then you ask the question sometime when, did you ask them? Did you ask them for that? Did you ask them to do that for you? Well, I'll tell you right now, I got a lot of people that went silent on me, but that's okay, because I am asking the questions. See, they don't take me serious, but they just don't know how serious I am. You can't sit up here with a book like this. You can't sit up here and, and write this. You can't talk about under the shade tree. You can't be boisterous as I am. And you can't be the individual of me, like I said, when I tell individuals, look, I ain't scared to take on no teacher. That ain't no disrespect to any teacher out there. It's just showing respect for who I am, in essence. And let me tell you something, people, and I want teachers to understand this. Other than them ones who have come after me directly, then that didn't work for you. You know how that goes. But let me explain something for you teachers you get out there and understand, because knowledge is knowledge and nobody has a monopoly over it. See, when you're dealing with a lot of people with their egos and their jealousy, and they're the ones putting you all in the spotlight, or putting you in the spotlight when it comes to someone like me. Because when they try to compare you to me or use you as an example, in a sense, then I have to call whatever it is that you're doing, I have to call it out. Because it ain't, like I said, it's not directed directly towards or to you. And, it's kind of indirect. But because of that, then my sole purpose is to definitely put these people in their place. Because when you ain't doing the work for yourself, when you're not creating it, then I don't know where you're in a position to try to tell me or talk bad about my work, in essence. Because you don't believe it doesn't mean that I'm incorrect. Because for you to say that my work isn't this or isn't that, or in essence, that means that you have to know it all. And obviously you don't, and so many of them said, because I never see your work in print. Now, I had this one guy, he's a nerve, he knocks your nerves, but to me, but it's kind of like, how you want to say it, what I mean by knocks your nerve. It's kind of like, when you keep spraying this cockroach, and for some reason, he just won't die. You go stomp on it sometime, and maybe he gets stuck under your shoe or something, and he won't die. They ain't really a problem. He's just an annoyance, in a sense. And you don't really want to smash it too much, in a sense, because, like I said, it's still, even though it's a cockroach, it's still, a part of, it's still a part of nature, in a sense. And and you can tell in their desperation and how desperate they are, because everybody sees it, everybody knows it, and probably everybody know exactly what I'm talking about, in essence. But that's kind of how it is. You got to do those things, because when I find a good agent, and then I get an opportunity to sit down and just have a conversation, and people listen to me talk about the golf swing and all of those things and what my top down is. And it ain't going to be talking about what you all are hearing. It is not on that. It's on a whole different level, people. It is built on a sequence from the tips of the fingers to the tips of the toes. And I can tell you all those simple things is from good dead finger grip with the fingers and hands, all the way to hawking the toes to keep you locked into the ground. I mean, it's. I even look at myself sometime, for all the stuff that I went through, learning the golf swing and when I used to play all the time. I wish I'd have known what it is, but then again, you can't go back sometime, because the things that I learned and I went through is what allowed me to build what I have in Top Down and build this philosophy and this system. And I have no problem saying it is phenomenal. Now, from that competitive standpoint and that athletic standpoint, I absolutely have no problem. I'll stand toe to toe with any teacher in the world. This is why another reason I need an agent, because I actually will stand toe to toe with any teacher in the world. I don't care who it is, because they don't know Top Down. They don't know my sequence. They don't know the rhythm I built this. They don't know exactly about the philosophy of how I teach it and how I explain it. And I can explain it, like I said, from the rooter to the tutor. And I do it very, 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 very well. I can explain it through anatomy. I can show you how, it's just, Lord have mercy, what I can show you. But here's the beauty of it. Here's my trick. I show you how to do it, and I won't even use golf. I'll use any sport you bring it up. Any sport, I don't care what it is, from swimming to whatever it is. I can show you how this top-down philosophy falls in the category of sports in general. Golf just happened to be where, the door that I'm peeking out of. And I can't say peeking out of it, because I'm busting the door down, you know what I mean? Because I'm hungry, people, and I'm ready. But people like that, if there's anybody out there want to help connect me with a sports agent, really want to sit down and have a real conversation, in a sense, as I said before, I have no problem speaking to someone. Many of my days when I was a caddy at Muirfield Village, I actually drove Jack over, over to the driving range. That's a funny story. I've had conversations with her. I've walked around and caddy for people. And as I said, I know my things. I know what I've done. A little quick story. I remember this when I was a caddy at Muirfield Village. And I think the caddy master's name was Jeff, and Jeff wasn't a big fan of me. And, because I can remember, Jeff was this scared, timid little guy. And he would shake when he got around me, because I was a big dude. But, it's one of those. But I wasn't like most bros. I didn't come in there and fall in place. I came in there to, entertain these people and make money, and I made a lot of money at Muirfield Village. And eventually Jeff got to, start liking me. But there was a story behind that. And so all these things that played into that caddy story was Jeff didn't like somebody. He really didn't like requests, because he gets control. And a lot of caddy masters don't like people who get requests, because they want to control it, whether they like you or give it to their favorites. Come on, man. You know how that is in life. But anyway, this story about me and the caddy. One day the caddy master just, he for whatever reason, maybe it was Tuesday, he was mad at me. But there was a group, and I'm trying to remember. I know one of the group of the people was Ivor Young, and another one, I don't think Panel Savick played in that group. Now, Panel Savick went to school with Jack Nicklaus. I think they played on the same college team or high school team or something that. But Ivor Young was a lawyer. Ivor Young has passed away now, rest in peace, Ivor. But Ivor and this group that they played in was the group that you would take the young caddies out that just didn't have no experience, because Ivor them was, serious golf, straightforward, carry the bags, do nothing, that kind of stuff, as well as, what was it, kind of like hush up, keep up, or whatever, whatever that caddy thing was. So if you did something bad and you was a good honor caddy like myself, then what Jeff would do would stick you on that in that group, and they played pretty much every day. Everybody just they know if you got stuck on that group, they laugh at you because they know that you weren't gonna get nothing but about $30. And see, and as I said, people, that comes with receipts. Well, anyway, he sticks me on that group. So I don't get mad because, like I said, if somebody walked up to me and just hand me $30 and say, "Here, Charles," but then again, I always look at things from the positive point of view. I'm at Muirfield Village, a golf course that I've played tons and tons of time, for free. So it didn't make no difference to me. I got my money's worth and everything else. So no matter what you do to me, in a sense or whatever, you can't knock me down because I'm standing up inside myself. So it didn't matter. I'm out on that grass. I'm walking Muirfield Village. It didn't matter. But you could be a man or you could be a mouse. And in that day when that happened, don't get me wrong, I wasn't happy that I got put on that loop because I didn't think I really did nothing. That was just something that was trying to put me in my place, and that wasn't going to happen. So anyway, what I did, I said, okay, if you're going to put me on this loop, then guess what? Then you get ready to see who Roosevelt and Mary Calhoun and my beautiful mother Shirley Coleman Calhoun, who gave birth to me, you're getting ready to see what kind of man that I raised. See, because I grew up where my grandparents owned stores, all that stuff. I had to learn how to be a certain way. I learned learn how to be respectful because my parents and my grandparents very, very, very well respected. There's many more in my community that I came in. So anyway, they put me out there on the loop, and they put one of the little youngies with me or whatever. And all got the caddies in there, laughing or whatever. I think Bobby Jones might have even been laughing. Bobby Jones was the brother who used to caddy up there or whatever. He might have been laughing or whatever. But, but I was a different kind of cat. So anyway, they put me on the loop. Charles, you're caddying for, Ivor in this group or whatever. And so we out there, and on the very top, it used to be like the little putting green that was right on the very top just before you go off the number one tee. Beautiful golf course in Muirfield Village, man. Man, that course is beautiful. I mean, the TV does it no justice. I mean, just beautiful. So anyway, we're up there, and so I'm getting there, and of course I'm introducing myself, and I said, did all these things, and I got the caddy with me, and he kind of green and stuff. So I was like, all right, let's get this show started right here. I'm gonna show who, what Big Boss is. So anyway, I don't remember the young caddy I was, but I told the caddy, I said, and I did it so all those guys could hear exactly what I was saying. I said, hey, listen, I want you to understand. Remember telling this little kid this. I said, I want you to understand. They get out here and play. They're very, very important people. They're all very good friends of Jack Nicklaus. And I said, so you got to be on your best behavior. I know you're a young caddy, but and I don't want you out of the place. The best thing for you to do is stay out of their way. So I'm going to show you how this works. And I said, I am an honor caddy. I know how to get these bags around this golf course. If you follow me, you'll do a great job. And I said, you look at my right pocket. And I said, and if you can't see my right pocket, then you need to get yourself in position. You do nothing unless you see my right pocket. If you're in front of me, get behind me as fast as you possibly can. And I said, what we're going to do, we're going to find ball. If you need my assistance, shake your hand, don't yell, don't do anything of that nature. All you do is just raise your hand, let me know, because I'm watching you anyway, because there's a difference between carrying bags for a loop and making a loop. Well, when everything was said and done, did a fantastic job, and I don't remember what the kid, I think he ended up, instead of the 30, I think he ended up getting 60, but I know for a fact that I got signed $80 on the ticket, and when I came in, they was like, oh, what you get? And I said, well, he signed for 80, and there was another guy who gave me another 20, and so I made a what they considered a $30 loop. I turned it into a $100 loop, and after that, they used to have what they call the I think it was the Memorial Green or something, whatever it was, where you bring in all the different members and all this, and it was a really good game. And I forgot the gentleman's name. He was a bank president in and out of Cleveland. And I actually caddied for him during that tournament, and we did really well. I still forget his name, but I always would caddy for him every time he came in. But in that tournament that they were going to play, just making that loop, being a professional, doing my job, not worrying about because it was a $30 loop or whatever, knowing that if I go do my job, that I was going to make that loop happen. And if he just did nothing but shake my hand and pay me $30, guess what? I'm going to smile and say, hey, you know what? Love to caddy for you the next time. Make sure you tell Jack how good of a job I did. You know, because you never know what may happen if you just keep your mouth shut. You got to learn how to be respectful. You got to learn how to be courteous. You got to know how when there's a different time for play and a different time for business. That situation was business. Because I did such a good job, Ivor actually came up to me and he said to me, he said, hey, Charles, would you like to caddy for me in that event that I talked about? And I can remember because I had such a good time even when I was caddying with him, you know, I basically was like, well, Ivor, you know, you don't pay good enough. And we had a joke about it. And, you know, as I said, he's passed away. But let me tell you, Ivor Young was a mover and shaker and had a lot to do behind, that's a little closed doors information, but had a lot to do with the help of that beautiful golf course that you see at Muirfield Village. Now, that's a story that I learned. Hey, people, I hope that you like this, me talking about, you know, a little bit about, you know, me, my Titleist driver, and what Top Down really is. It's not some just Band-Aid sticking in there. It is a real philosophy. I created it as a philosophy to go against, in a sense, what I had learned for over years that I just did not enjoy. I did not like. I did not think the golf swing and how it was taught was structured as much as like you learning to throw a football, learning to throw a baseball, or learning how to throw a curveball. In a sense, I don't think the golf swing is structured, or the making up of it was structured as well. I don't think the fundamentals of what we call fundamentals was set up. I don't even think the definition that is used in the golf swing today about fundamentals is even correct in the game. So before I would close, or what I call, you know, leaves under the shade tree, this is another essence of what I did with Top Down when I created or the system about fundamentals. And so I defined it. What is a fundamental? Because you look through Golf Now, and I bet you all can go through there and you can find book after book after book that's everybody's got different fundamentals for this. But what is a fundamental? A fundamental is something that we do, use, whatever, that has to be conducive to all. So the true nature of a fundamental in itself is this, is one of the bases of my anatomical ends. The golf club is held in the hand. The head is at the top of the body where the eyes can look down towards the ball. The feet are touching the ground. And every single golfer in the entire world, you know, with physicality and everything else that plays this game, male, female, black, white, green or yellow, right-handed and left-handed, if they play this game, then those anatomical ends are conducive to all. Every single tour player that you look at holds the golf club in the hand, head looks down towards the ground, feet touches the ground. So when I even tell my players, if they want to teach you to do what the pros do, let them teach you how to do the anatomical ends, because that's one in yourself right there, to tell you you're doing exactly what the pros are doing. And that's what a fundamental is. And that's how fundamentals should be taught. And I've wrote the book of how it's doing. I hope you all like, you know, the things that I'm talking about. I know I'm not putting this book out yet. As I said, you know, once I get an agent, you know, a sports agent, we'll talk about how we put that out there, you know. You don't know. Somebody might just hit me up and say, hey, Shade Tree, what are you looking for? How much you want? What do you need? In a sense, you know, we got all them big ballers out there with all that money that's looking for information. They might hit me up and say, hey, look, you know, Be my personal guy, whatever. Be my golf ambassador. Be my golf ambassador for my company, whatever it is. If somebody's looking for a golf ambassador and want me to be the golf ambassador for your company to help your clients take them out, all you got to do is look at my credibility and, at Muirfield Village and all that. Yeah, I caddy for Jackie Nicholas, Jack's son, whatever. That's another story for another time. And Jackie Nicholas, I'm going to tell you right now, 165. Play it like it's 167 so you can get just a little bit more of it so it'll land behind that hill on number 18 on the slope and then come back to the hole. And you did hit a good shot that day, although we had a good time in the fairway with that conversation. But that's another story, and I've got a lot of them. But anyway, people, I hope you like what I'm saying. This is the podcast number 5. I'm Shade Tree Pro, and as they say, Charles Calhoun, a.k.a. the Shade Tree Pro. You know how I do it, baby. Hope you enjoy it. Always good golfing. Cheers, people.